Hey, welcome back to the Craft Beer Runner. Today we have my friend Pat Sweeney on. He's in beautiful, sunny, warm Southern California, while I'm up here outside in the cold in Seattle. Pat, welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Jack. Glad to be here.
I've known Pat since I believe 2012. I met him at the Born to Run event. It was a lot smaller back then. He was one of the first people I met on the ranch, and in his typical Pat self, was super friendly, welcoming, made me feel part of the family immediately. And this is back when the event was super small. He's still that way. Glad to know him. What are you drinking there?
I am drinking Belching Beaver Hazy IPA, Hazer's Gone Haze.
Awesome.
And
Then I got a couple cans from my friend Brian in the mail. This is Modern Times Dream Pop, blueberry, coconut, and vanilla. So excited to check this one out. Pat, thanks for coming on.
cheers.
Cheers. So, for those that know Pat, you probably associate him with Beer Miles, and for those that don't know Pat, um, you will associate him with Beer Miles probably. uh, First of all, Pat, can you tell us what a beer mile is?
Beer miles, where you drink a 12-ounce beer from a bottle or can. You do not shotgun it. You then run a quarter mile, drink a second beer, run a second quarter mile, drink a third beer, run a third quarter mile, then a fourth beer and a fourth quarter mile, and then you are done. And then I will
And
put a shovel on around your neck.
yeah, so uh, you created this tradition of the shovel, the plastic shovel fishing metal. Where did that tradition come from? Like, how did you come up with this?
Um, I was living at the beach for a really long time, and I like to pick up trash and collect things. And I'm also a consumer and a capitalist, and I don't really like to be, and I don't like to go and buy crap. So the picking up the shovels kind of filled that void, and then I ended up with a shit ton of shovels, and I was like, "What the fuck do I do with these things?" And I don't know how it came to me one day, but I was like, "Okay, yeah, we'll just make these the award for the beer month." The second beer mile at Born Run, I think was the first place that I ever gave out the shovels. I gave out like 30 of them that day, and since then, in the last 7 or 8 years, I've given out probably 2 to 3 thousand.
Right. I think probably the idea came because we, when you finish one of Lewis's races, you get the amulet that was made by Akabil before he passed away. I believe. Are you wearing one of Akabil's right now?
I'm not. I'm actually. It was kind of by chance. Not. I would normally I wear an Knockabill one, but the string broke on my last one.
Yeah.
This is one made by Tracy Thomas, who's kind of taken over the realm for Aquabill since he passed away. And this is actually from a beer mile a long time ago. I think it's from the across the years beer mile. She gave out these to a couple of the winners.
Right. So, you get these amulets on the string, and I think that's probably where you got the idea for stringing up
Yeah.
the shovel. As you can see, it's around your neck. I remember, I think it was 2014 when the beer mile started getting really big at Born to Run. You had a plastic tarp out and had probably at least 100 shovels that you scavengered uh, for
Yeah.
throughout the weeks leading up to it. And then you're the head of the International Beer Mile Association, correct? Did I get the name right?
It is an association, so that's not a. There's no figurehead, so there's no one to blame if there's some liability or anything. So yeah, it's an association. It's pretty much an association of one. Sometimes there's other people in the association. Sometimes
Right.
it's by association.
And the association puts on unofficial beer miles at different events throughout the year, correct?
Yeah, usually at like I'd like to put them on at different 100-mile events, but there's a few
What's
that are consistent.
what's been the most fun location for that?
Well, if you look off my balcony right here, I live at a clothing optional ranch, and we host the Naked Beer Mile World Championship. The next one's coming up in April, and we get about 100 people. It's bigger than the Born to Run Beer Mile. which is hard to believe. And it's just ridiculous seeing everybody flopping around.
Literally flopping around.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Didn't you do one at Western States a few years ago, like on the uphill at the start?
No, we did the downhill at the start. So I actually arrived late to my own beer mile that I was hosting. So I kind of half-assed participated in it, trying to catch up to them. But we went up, it started a mile up. And so it's almost a straight downhill course. And you get to your beers as you're going. And then you carry your cans with you to the finish line. So in theory, like if somebody like had the perfect day, like a 4-minute beer mile like could happen on that course. You'd have to be pretty reckless though.
Yeah, that's a pretty steep downhill to start, or the reverse of what the start of the race is.
Yeah.
Um, in 2014, I think it was, you also had the crazy idea to do a beer half marathon. And for the longest time, you actually held the unofficial world record for that. I believe it's been broken.
Yeah.
One, what the hell were you thinking? And two, tell me about this.
It was not a good idea. I do not encourage anybody to do it. I never want to do it again, but I probably will. Yeah, I said I was going to do it, and then I kind of didn't want to do it, but I kind of wanted to do it, and it was a really hot day. And so I was thirsty, so at least I had thirst on my side. It's a beer every mile for 13 miles instead of a beer every quarter mile. So you're drinking 13 beers. And for a while, like I could, it's like I was racing against the buzz. And so like for the first 5 or 6 beers, it was easy. And like, I'm like a mile ahead of this buzz and this buzz is chasing me down. And by the time I got to like beers 7, 8, 9, like it hit me and it hit me hard. Like when you can stop the drink and you feel it and take off your first few steps of your next mile, like you're wobbly, but you can still run. Like people were joining in and I was still putting down, sub 7-minute miles, but then I think I blacked out between like beers 11 and 12. I know I was wearing like, I don't know, like a Satan costume. And then I was being pushed around in a wheelchair afterwards. I can remember little bits of it. Thankfully I was around like people who cared about me.
It was a very safe environment for you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All I remember, I got to the ranch the day after and I just know that you were still in the wheelchair. So
yeah, I did run the, that was on, I think, a Thursday, and then Friday I ran the beer mile that next day, and then I tried to run the 50K the next day, and that was one of my worst 50Ks I've ever
run. So there's 2 aspects to a beer mile. There's the speed aspect of being able to drink, and then there's the second aspect of being able to run while you have all the bubbles inside of you. First of all, are you a fast drinker?
I used to be better. I'm not as competitive as I once was. But yeah, in general, just drinking beers. Like I'm usually not in a beer mile, just drinking beers. I drink my beers very fast. In a beer mile, I'm faster than most. And I used to be faster than like pretty much everybody every time. Nowadays, like in a beer mile, like I still win more beer miles than I lose, but usually I'm not the first person done with the first beer, but I'm a good beer 3 and a good beer 4 drinker, which is kind of the opposite of most people.
Right. And, do you have like a tip to, like someone like myself, I can't drink beer fast. Like I'm one of the slowest beer milers. It's between me and Chris and Tyler Clemens for the 15 to 20 minute range for a beer mile. Like what is the secret to being able to get a beer down?
Just know it's shared misery. Everybody's going through the same shit, and like it's only gonna hurt for a few minutes, and then you're gonna be drunk, and you're gonna be happy, and you're gonna be celebrating with your friends. So it's like it's just mind over matter. I mean, every once in a blue moon, I'll be trying to drink too fast, and I'll pour it down into my lungs, and then like total failure will happen. But that's rare.
Are you able to induce burping? You're on your own?
I'm pretty good at burping, yeah. And you got to get that's the thing with the beer miles. You got to get your beers out during that quarter mile. And so like I host most of my beer miles on trails, which is kind of unusual, and they're usually out and back because I like to see everybody. I think it's more fun to make it a spectator sport, as opposed to like a beer mile on a track where it's really fast. It's harder to get. Like, I think the trail beer miles are a little bit slower, but it makes the beer a little bit easier because you have a little bit more time out there to get your burps out.
So there are some quote unquote official rules of beer miling, which you can find on the internet. I think what you've done is you're very inclusive in what you allow. You're not as strict, other than the no shotgunning. I think you just want people to participate, whether they're even drinking or not. I mean, we have Ted doing the marijuana mile at times, and we had other people do like hard liquor, taking shots of airplane bottles. You know, tell us like some of the basic rules that you have for your beer miles.
Well, for me, if anybody wants to come and do it, and it's for fun, and usually I'll raise money for animal charities. I like raising money for kid charities in general, but not if it involves drinking. I think it's kind of not the best idea. So usually I advise people to drink a carbonated beverage. Like, if you want to participate and you're like, I don't know, sometimes there's prizes. There's usually isn't, but if there were prizes, like if you're drinking a carbonated soda or a soda water, like that's every bit as hard as a beer, and so you're totally 100% in it. Or if you're if you're under 21, like if you're like 7 or 8 years old or something, like you probably shouldn't be drinking beer out there unless you're Belgian or something. But like, yeah, people have done, I don't know, people have done like soy milk and hard alcohol and marijuana, and like if that's what makes them happy, then whatever, who cares?
I mean, it's kind of about the community, especially at Born to Run. Yeah, but I'm sure other races too. It's about community. It's why we go to these events for whether it's ultra marathoning or whatever it is. Like you go for you are trying to challenge yourself, but you're also going to be around people.
And I definitely don't encourage people to drink who have a problem with alcohol or don't like alcohol. Like, that's their choice, and like I respect that.
Right. Where do you want to take the beer mile? I mean, you spread the word of it. Like, do you want to continue to spread the word of it? I mean, have you done all you can do? Where do you want to take this?
God, so I like this naked beer mile has been pretty special. That's been a cool thing. I like the idea of frozen objects. So there's these frozen tequila shots, or frozen like otter pops made out of tequila. They sell in Colorado.
I have some in my freezer, actually.
Yeah, no, there's not the not the Bud Light branded ones, but there's one that uses like real tequila, not malt liquor in there. And to do 4 of those and like to fight the brain freeze element, I think is like a really interesting and tough thing to do. We were supposed to do it with otter pops at one of Lewis's race with kids and stuff, but Lewis kind of fucked it up and brought the wrong stuff. But we kind of half-assed popsicles and then half-mile course. Even that was pretty fun. Like, it was interesting seeing who could eat a popsicle, and fuck, the faces of that people were in eating this popsicle as fast as they could. Like, you felt for them, but it was kind of cool to see too.
Yeah. Well, so Pat's actually been like, I think, a big part of my life and a lot of other people's lives, and I kind of like want to know like how the paths kind of cross. Like, when did you meet Lewis, and like what drew you to Born to Run in 2012?
It was 2012 the first Born to Run?
2011 was the first one.
Okay. I've been to all the Born to Runs.
Okay.
The first one I went to because Lewis said it was a barefoot, because we heard it was a barefoot friendly course, and I was into barefoot running at the time. And I was running for Luna Sandals, and I was going there with Ted, and I was going there with Caballo Blanco. So I was just going to see, like, it was a small community that year. Like, and then Ted and Caballo were supposed to speak, and I think Barefoot Kenba was there. And of course, this fucking sucked for barefoot running. So like, I went and ran like the first half mile of it, and I said, no, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, that ranch, like even in Luna Sandals, like if you're doing 100K or longer, and you're wearing the monos or something thinner than the monos, like you feel it. I ran the 100K in monos, and by mile 40, every step hurt. Like you feel every rock on that course. So that's right. You were into barefoot running. That's how you knew Ted. That's how you knew that part of the community. So that's how you got into Born to Run. Gotcha. Okay. And for those that don't know, Pat has run marathons barefoot on the road. What's your best marathon barefoot?
I did LA, and I did LA. I did the first 7 mile. I wasn't trying to do it barefoot. I was trying to do it in sandals, and it was pouring rain. And my sandals, my foot kept going like this, and I was trying to run a good time. I was trying to run faster than I probably should have been running, but like I was expecting around like a 2:45 ish, and I was having trouble going under 7 minutes in the sandals. So around like mile 7 or 8, I took off the sandals, and things went okay. It wasn't a good day or wasn't a
So that
bad day.
was 2011. I ran that race in shoes. I came through around 3:01 that day, 3:03 I think that
Hey,
day.
that's
Like,
that's not bad.
yeah, I was in 3:10 shape and I ran 3:03. I actually that was probably one of I've run faster marathons, but that was like my best complete marathon in terms of how I performed.
Okay.
So yeah, you ran that day barefoot. Oh, that's crazy, man. I remember that day very well.
I was almost hypothermic. I was just wearing short shorts and then standing in like 4 inches of water in the rain after I finished, and like I came close to needing to go to the hospital afterwards, but I
Oh
didn't.
yeah, I was pretty much hypothermic too. I walked 2 miles back to my friend's house afterwards, and by the time I got there, I was still soaking wet. Like
Yeah.
an hour-long hot shower couldn't save me. um, Awesome. So yeah, Pat, thank you for coming on. I haven't seen you since May of last year, or 2019. It's been way too long. I can't wait for us to be able to get together at Lewis's events and at other great events around the country. And a lot warmer than where I am right now. I want to get to know you a little bit better. So I have a 4-pack of questions for you. So
Okay.
the first question is, what's your first memory of good beer or craft beer? We all have memories of drinking bad beer, probably way too early in our lives. Like, what's your first memory of a beer that you liked?
So for me, craft beer starts with Sierra Nevada. Like I still like a Sierra Nevada, but like when I was in my early 20s, around the year 2000, uh, Sierra Nevada was like it's not an IPA, but it's similar to an IPA, and it was like the first thing I really got into.
Right, and you used to work actually in alcohol distribution, correct?
Yeah, I worked for a marketing company that would get contracted by different alcohol companies.
Right. What's your favorite style of beer?
I'm I guess you'd say a West Coast IPA drinker. So
You like
they're
the bold, the big,
yeah,
hoppy stuff.
it can't get too bitter and it can't get too hoppy.
So you're like a stone kind of guy.
Yeah, well, so I was sponsored by the Stone Brewing Company for I think I don't know 6 or 7 years. They would just
Yeah.
fill up my car with beer anytime I wanted them to.
Yeah, I remember we did the Operation Jack half marathon one year, Christmas or New Year's or whatever it was, and you definitely delivered to me and Krista some stones for after the race.
Awesome.
So in California, do you have one or two favorite breweries?
Well, I'm super poor, so for the most part, like especially, and I live somewhere hot, so I drink shitty ass beer, like more often than not. I'm drinking Keystone, so I buy 30 packs of Keystone, and I drink those like water. But for IPAs, my two favorite, um, I guess my three favorite breweries, they're all like San Diego based. Number one would probably be Green Flash, and number two would be Pizza Port, and then number three would be Belching Beaver. And interesting thing about Green Flash, and then number four, I still have appreciation for Stone. Like Stone's up there. Um, Pizza Port and Green Flash bought Stone's old brewery, and then Pizza Port was actually the first place that Stone Ale at their restaurant was ever sold. When the people who started Stone created their brewery, their first kegs were on tap at Pizza Port. So it kind of goes full circle.
Yeah, yeah, that San Diego beer scene's incredible, and it's still expanding, but that's where, like, in California, that's kind of where craft beer started in California, was down in San Diego.
Yeah, and like a decade ago, you couldn't get like in your face hoppy beer like that didn't come from California or maybe Oregon. Nowadays, you can get like every part of the country can make good IPA. Even we've gone down a few times to Tijuana and had some good IPAs down there.
Yeah. And then last one is, you traveled a lot for running, driving your pickleball around the country. Uh, what are two of your favorite beers or breweries outside of California?
Um, yeah, that's a tough one on the spot. Like the Eddie Line Brewery in Buena Vista. Um, I like I guess I'll just stick with that one. They're a Colorado brewery, and they were actually going to sponsor me and my buddy this year for the burro racing season, but the burro racing season kind of didn't really happen the way it was supposed to. So maybe next year.
Right. Uh, so what Pat's talking about is he goes to Colorado every year and races with a mule up a hill.
Not a mule, a donkey.
A donkey, a burro. At how far are those races?
They're anywhere from, I think the shortest ones are below 10 miles, like 8 miles, and the longest are close to 30.
And you have to run with the burro the whole time?
Yeah, you just run with your donkey. Sometimes they'll pull you up the hills. Sometimes they will drag you down the hills.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Pat, thank you so much again for coming on, sharing some stories of drinking beer and running a mile or a half marathon. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, Pat.
All right, thank you, Jack. Cheers. Well, I got nothing left.
Oh, man. Oh.